Alrighty, I have been live streaming. There's some southern accent seeping in. I have been live streaming Oathsworn, and I have been doing other things on this channel, but I have been behind on filming videos. So I am here today filming some videos, and I'm going to do them quite quickly. I'm going to zoom through them. I don't even need a top-down for most all of these, because most of them are first impressions. So I can just do a front cam, and then I can splice on the images and the media assets as needed. I think that's far enough away from the southern accent that I can switch back to normal mode and see how things work. Hi, I'm Devin, your friendly neighborhood board gamer, and this is Devin Talks Tabletop, the YouTube channel where the games are made up. What I say doesn't matter, so why are we here? Oh, I hope they're not coming for me. Alrighty, today I'm talking about We're Sinking, which, now that I'm actually talking about the game, we can discuss board games instead of doing the meaningless intro that I typically add to every video. So this is We're Sinking, and this is from Ludimus Games. This is coming out. This is a game that is about to arrive on Kickstarter, and I'm doing a first impressions because I have not had the opportunity to play with the physical prototype. I've played on TTS, so I haven't had the physical prototype. I haven't had enough time with it in order to do like a full review of the game, but I did want to put some content out on it because I liked the game quite a bit. So as someone who manages communications on Quackalope and who has started to have a higher volume of submissions, requests, just contact with people who are making games, the volume increases and the ability to select a game naturally has to narrow, because otherwise you're given this bloated list of stuff that you have to cover and you're not really able to effectively or meaningfully or even actually cover the full list of stuff that you get sent. I still have games that I need to cover that I have been sent a month or 2 months ago, just based off of the frequency of my schedule and what I am doing in other parts of my life. So all of that to say, I don't have a physical copy with me, but I think this game deserves coverage because I liked it a lot. I was very impressed with it. I was saying that because I get a higher volume, I'm trying to be more selective about what I pick. So if I pick to talk about something, I feel that it is more, not worthy is not the right word, but more engaging and appealing game to me, that I'm choosing to talk about it in what is a limited time frame. Still haven't actually talked about the game yet. We're Sinking is I want to get away from semi-cooperative. It is a competitive board game experience. And it's not semi-cooperative because there is only one winner. No matter which way the game swings, there's only one winner. It is a pirate-themed nautical adventure where you have a physical ship that, I love this, has layers to it. And so as the ship sinks, you remove layers to the ship, and the miniature will gradually be sinking further into the water as the game goes on. However, there are two different opportunities or ways that the game can conclude, and they're on either end of a spectrum. So the game is where you are all crew members on a ship. You're all pirates, or you're all, sailors on this ship, and then you've got this adversary that's attacking you. In the games that I've seen, or in the monsters that I've seen available, it's a kraken, which is, thematically appropriate. It is a megalodon, like a big shark, and then another one would be the skull corsairs, which are like undead pirates or undead skeleton warriors. And then another one is the siren. So the sirens are obviously the beguiling, enchanting Greek mythology figures that call to sailors at sea and try to shipwreck them and pull them away. So those are the four adversaries that you could be facing, and they all have different dice or different abilities that they are going to bring in and how they're going to affect the ship. In addition to just the natural attack of those creatures is the fact that your ship is already sinking. If you've ever been on a pirate ship, if you've ever played a game like Sea of Thieves, I think it's Sea of Thieves. Is it Sea of Thieves? I think it is. Why does that not sound right? I think it's Sea of Thieves. Anyways, you're going to have a ship. It's going to sink because the hull is going to develop holes. That can be exacerbated by the enemies and their attacks on the ship. But those holes need to be patched or they're going to get worse. And those breaches, which is what it's called whenever your hull is breached and water starts to come in the game, those breaches can be small or they can be major. And so depending on the player count, depends on how often and how large the size of those breaches are. And the goal is this. It's twofold. You either want to succeed by defeating the monster before your ship sinks. So you either want to defeat the monster, which means repairing the cannons and firing the cannons, which is another part of it, or you want to, as the ship sinks, if you know the ship is going to sink, you want to be the pirate or the sailor with the least amount of possessions, the least amount of cards, because it means you are the lightest and the easiest to swim. So you want to swim the fastest, and you want the smallest deck to be able to swim away. If you win, it doesn't matter your hand size. You want to possess the highest numerical value of treasure. So you want to end the game with a ship that has survived the monster attack and be the wealthiest sailor or the wealthiest pirate. So you've got these two competing objectives that you have to keep in mind at the same time. You have to hold these as real possibilities all game at the same time, and you're weighing your actions. If you start to develop a larger hand full of valuable treasure, you are incentivized as a player to try and coerce yourself or other people to attack the monster. You want the monster to lose because you have such a valuable hand. If you don't have as good of a hand, or if you see other people have a substantially better hand than you might be incentivized to not worry about the monster and not worry about breaches, but simply get rid of your hand as fast as possible and prepare yourself for the need that the ship is going to sink and you want to swim away and be the lightest in the water. So what's really interesting is you have these actions that take place each turn. You have the ability to go into the water deck, and what that means is you are trying to bucket out water, and you're trying to bail out water, but you also might find treasure, because it's kind of like you're getting rid of water in your ship, but you also might find floating treasure in the ship because it's a pirate ship or it's a sailor ship. So you might get value out of that whenever you're pursuing that. You also have the ability to just pick up treasure that's around. I think I'm confusing it a little bit. You either have the option of bucketing out water, which gets rid of cards from the water level of the ship. You have the ability to plunder or loot treasure that is available and around, and that's kind of you padding your pockets. You have the ability to fix the ship, which is getting rid of breaches and also repairing broken cannons, and those cannons are going to go into the place where you're allowed to fire them. And then the breaches are going to go away, which helps reduce the amount of water that's flowing. The more breaches there are, the more water that's going to flow in at the beginning of every turn. And so when it's everybody's turn, the thing that I love about this and why I like games that have this mechanism is because it creates a lot of tension and a lot of interest into what everybody's doing. You get a lot of engagement in what the other players are doing when you're figuring out who's doing what. And what I mean by that is that it's hidden action selection. Every player has an action dial with the 4 different actions on it. And you're going to go into those queues. And so what you do is you choose what you want and you place it in that column that you are declaring that you are going to do. The only difference is once everybody's done that, you reveal them, and whoever is lying actually goes to the back of the row in which they're really doing their action. So if they're telling the truth, they stay where they're at. If they're lying, they go to the bottom of those other sections. And there can be a benefit to that depending on which column they're in. Some actions, it is better to be the last person, especially in that first column. In other columns, it doesn't matter as much the player order, but it does matter that you can choose to declare that you're going to do an action and then not do it and do a different action. You might say, hey guys, I'm going to help us fix these cannons that we desperately need to shoot the monster. And then you might go plunder some treasure instead. And so there is that tension of determining whether you think someone is telling the truth, trying to make it to where your action isn't affected even if people aren't telling the truth, or make it to where you are able to effectively choose the best action for you and possibly confuse or ensnare other people. Unless you're wanting to play it honestly, which is totally fair, because you might really want an outcome to happen, and so you're telling the truth no matter what. So there's this nice balance, this nice anxiety in player decision that is appropriate for what the game is. I've played Battlestar Galactica recently, and I would liken We're Sinking to Battlestar Galactica if it didn't matter. Like, you're a human no matter what. You're not a Cylon. But the Cylons are attacking the ship, and you have to decide if you're going to destroy the Cylon and reap the rewards of being one of the most effective people that repelled the attackers, or you want to be the person who's the most prepared if the ship falls. You want to be the one that's got the escape pod that's ready to get out of there. So it's a very... there isn't a traitor mechanic in the game, but it's this push and pull to two different like winning objectives and like in-game conditions. Either the monster is going to be destroyed or defeated, or the ship is going to sink. And either way, you have a way of winning. And only one person is going to win. Another thing that I like about the game is that it is visually and in terms of visual and graphic design, it's very crisp. I like it. I love the animated characters. They have a lot of personality to them. I like the cleanliness of the graphic design. I like the player reference cards. I like pretty much everything that I saw, and it was a fun game to play, even on TTS, which is not always as easy to achieve as you would think. TTS can be a burdensome place to learn and play a game, but I didn't feel that was the case with We're Sinking. So I wanted to just share my thoughts because I really did enjoy that game, and I know that it's getting to the point where there's been successive campaigns now where if I wasn't trying to abstain from buying stuff, I would probably back this campaign, and I would back Dune War for Arrakis, and I would have backed Arcs, and I would have backed another one that I can't think of right now. There are campaigns that like I'm invested in because I like the game, even though I am trying to abstain. But I just wanted to share this because I think Joseph has done a fantastic job with the game. He's the designer, Joseph Frederick. He's the brain behind Ludinus Games. He's the designer of We're Sinking. I think he's done a fantastic job. I think the graphic design is really smart. It plays well. It plays smoothly. And I really like that push and pull between the two different in-game conditions. And I like how closely you can be competing for each of those at the same time. So it's the least amount of cards in terms of if the ship sinks, but it's the most amount of treasure value if you defeat the monster. So there is a way in which you can be competitive for both options. And you're essentially getting higher value treasure cards and culling out all other cards to where you have a really lean but profitable and valuable cards. And then on the other side of things, because it's not the most amount of cards, as long as you have a few amount of cards and they're valuable, you can really compete for defeating the monster and for if the ship sinks, you have the fewest amount of cards in hand. So I think it's a very smart design choice that you can teeter on the edge of both and still be competitive for either, and then there's only one winner. And I like that there's one person that's going to be able to swing it and pull out the victory no matter which one you're going for. And I'm excited to see if there's more monsters than just the 4 that I've seen on TTS and more characters. The characters each have specific items that are unique to them. So there's a little bit of player asymmetry that I enjoy. And the cool thing is the players or the crew members that aren't being used, their items still get shuffled in the deck. So you can see their abilities even if those crew members aren't playing because they're still on the ship, So there's just a lot about We're Sinking that I liked and I was impressed with it and I want to see more. So yeah, first impressions for We're Sinking from Ludimus Games. It's going up on Kickstarter at some point here soon, and I am getting that video out so that you guys know about it. And I'll try to have as many nice graphics over the course of this video as I can using the media assets I've got. We'll see you guys next time. One video down, many more to go. Squeak. Timestamp. Cheese knife. See you guys.